Hey there. So my next guest, really cool. He's a marketer since marketing. Like he's deep into it in the software, the software as a service worlds. He knows how to get people into softwares, into to become recurring users. Like if this is something that you are doing or have an interest in doing someday in the future, this is an episode you need to check out. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have Sam Kamani. Hey there, Sam. How's it going?
Oh, very good. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So where do you hail from, Sam?
I was born and brought up in India, but for the nearly last 19 years, I've been in New Zealand. Or most of my last 19 years has been in New Zealand. However, because of different businesses and different startups, I've spent a lot of time in US and some time in Australia and few other Asian countries here and there. So yeah.
Very cool. All right. So Sam, why don't you just go ahead and begin by telling us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of pick it up from there.
Yes, absolutely. I'll just start from, I did finish my university in India, and then I went to New Zealand to study further. So I did further university education. I got some more in New Zealand, and so I was originally trained in computer science, but I was always more interested in marketing and how to acquire users for even if you build something, because even at that time, you build a software, you still have to go and get people to use it and sell it in some way. So I studied marketing, and then I was looking in the early 2000s, what is it that is at the cross section of marketing and technology, and that was digital marketing. So I went into digital marketing, and I was like buying AdWords and helping companies move online in 2003, 2004, when the whole AdWord product was so new. In fact, people didn't even used to use Google back then. People used to use yahoo.com and AOL and all those to search things, and Lycos and Alta Vista and all those sort of things. But anyway, I helped businesses grow, and that's how I got my, just through people, I got my first break, and I got the chance to buy into an e-commerce business. I grew that exponentially. I took it to US, some of the Asian sort of countries like Singapore and Hong Kong and Taiwan and all that, and to Australia. So that did quite well. I ran that for about 8 years. I sold it in end of 2015. After that, I joined an esports startup where we built software for companies or esport organizations who want to run tournaments. And also we had a platform where people can do some quests. So you would connect your, say, League of Legends or Dota 2 account or Call of Duty or Destiny or any of those like sort of AAA titles. You would connect those games and you would do some quests on the platform, and it would give you points which you exchange for real world prices. We also allowed people to organize their tournaments through the platform. So, and we white label that platform. That's where we made real money sort of thing. So that gave me much better insight into the whole gaming world and the esports world. I'd always been a gamer since late 90s, sort of playing Doom and Half-Life and all those sort of games to pretty much I've played on every single platform, whether it be PlayStation or Wii or Xbox or Steam or pretty much every platform. And so it was so much fun to work in that sort of esports environment and work for that esports startup. That startup got acquired in 2018. So then I thought, okay, cool. I've done this couple of times. Can I help other entrepreneurs do the same? build their own products, whether it be a SaaS product or an e-commerce product or a mobile app. Can I do that for other people? And that's when I got together with one of my friend here, Will Smith, and we started Product Done, where we now build products for other people. In the same sort of theme, I also wrote a book a year ago called The 30-Day Startup, where we talk about how you can build a prototype or build like a minimum viable product in just few weeks. And we have laid it out with lots of examples of how you can do that and then how you can go and promote that. So today, feel free to ask me any questions about how you can, promote or acquire users for your startup, or whether it's an esports or traditional sort of a SaaS product or a B2B or mobile app. The last thing I did was a couple of months ago, I wrote and published my second book called Business in the Time of Corona, because I was running a small business and then the whole COVID thing happened and the lockdown happened and no one could go to work and all that thing happened. So yeah, I just wanted to, bring hope to people that, look, there are all these companies and how they have pivoted and how they are making the most of this time. So you can check that book out on Amazon. I'll send you the link. You can put the link somewhere. So that's pretty much, that's about me.
All right. That is so cool. What an incredible background. Now, like, you have so much to dive into there. I can't wait. However, I need to pause and do my normal thing. So I'm going to ask you the same question I ask everybody else. It's my first question I ask all my guests, and it's kind of a fun question, to get us started. But on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, Sam?
Oh, my scale is so different, because sometimes I'm number 2 on the scale and sometimes I'm number 10 on the scale. So it depends where I am and who I'm talking with. For some reason, I feel like my scale keeps changing. So
Isn't
maybe
that weird? Why would it be that your scale changed? But I'm asking you, you personally, it depends on who I'm with. For gamers, generally, it seems that we're all really weird, but we're not, right?
Yes, exactly right. Because I have realized that people don't have it's not that black and white with people. They have so many different roles. For me, I've got 2 kids, so I am quite different with my kids than I am and I'm on board of couple of other startups as well that are quite established and they have a board, and if I'm in a board meeting, I am so different to when I'm just on the floor wrestling with my 4-year-old or with my 6-year-old talking about Minecraft. So my scale varies on where I am and who I am with. It's like people are not single dimensional. People have so many dimensions. People are fathers, brothers, son, a colleague or a boss. So you sometimes have to wear many different hats at different times, and my weirdness changes. Of course, when I'm playing a multiplayer game with my friends from around the world, which is a PvP game, my weirdness will definitely be on a higher scale than.
I'm sure your children aren't around then, right?
Exactly right. They're in bed, so after they go to bed, I log online and I play games.
I love it. Okay, Sam.
That's all my friends. They're all nearly in their late 30s or early 40s. They all have got kids, and everyone they go to bed like kids, and then we come online and game.
I wish I was there. I do all my my business after my daughter goes to bed. So my gaming time is whatever she's allowed to play, and then business is after she's in bed. So I'm looking forward for the day that I can start playing again.
Yeah.
But okay, so this is the gamerpreneur, Sam. So yes. You said you started, you were playing Doom back in the late 90s, but where did you first start playing? You can walk me through that?
Absolutely. So I am I'm ancient um, um, for compared to a lot of the other gamers. So my first experience with a PC was in the mid 90s in India, or even early 90s, and I was using DOS. And then Windows 3.1 came along, and then it kind of like, the graphical user interface completely blew over mind, kind of a thing. And we were using basic and COBOL and things like that to program and make some very, very sort of like stick figure type games in back then. And then we'd get and we'd pass the games around in a floppy disk, like a massive 5-inch sort of a floppy disk, and um, we would slide that in a computer. And and it was a completely crazy time, like growing up in India. And my part of India, it's quite dry, a bit like where you are, in very arid conditions, like we are in Vegas, right? So it's quite dusty and everything, so people would build like a separate sort of a room for the computer, where it always have a air conditioning because of the heat. And so the only room in the house that would have air conditioning would be the computer, and you'd be like completely dust free environment, and you'd remove your shoes outside and go into that separate room. And so it was a very interesting time. And back then there were no consoles. So I mean, sorry, like like the same powerful consoles compared to like these days. So you would have to build your own PC in the late 90s. This is now talking a few years later. And then, so if you want to build your own PC, you need to understand everything about computers. And that's what got a lot of my friends who are all into tech businesses now into tech. Pretty much it was gaming, and gaming what was that inspired them to learn about technology and to learn about programming and coding and all those sort of things. So they're pretty much everyone that I meet of my age, their tech career started because of gaming. If there was no gaming, they would never have been interested into tech. They would be all just playing sports or doing something else. So I think it has been a massive blessing in disguise, like the whole gaming thing. And and then we started, so we had to build our own computer and all that. Everyone does that. So we learned. This is late 90s. There was no YouTube. There were no tutorials.
I'm right there with you. I've been building my computer since the late 90s. Actually, I just rebuilt it last night because my heatsink died. So I had to rebuild the whole thing over again.
So, you had to do a lot by figuring it out, reading manuals, all that sort of stuff, like start from scratch. And even just like installing things and everything back then was a mission. And you had to get the right drivers, and you had to worry about those sort of things, which people like, they just open the MacBook and it's all go. They don't even realize that. But anyway, it was fun. We really enjoyed it and stuff. So I think played Half-Life and Doom and all the sort of console type games, that not console, what do you call, like arcade type games that came in, whether it be Kong or Contra or lots of different ones. And so kind of there where it started. But what when I really got into it was in early 2000s playing Halo. And that was a lot of fun. That completely changed everything. That it was like miles ahead of every other game out there on console back then. Before that, it was PlayStation, and the PlayStation games looked so different, and Halo looked so different to everything else. So that got me into the first person shooter type games and all that. The other game I played in the 90s was Wolf something, Wolf 3D. Wolfenstein 3D. Yes, with the Nazis and stuff. That's the one used to play. But you look at that and you look at Halo, the first version of Halo, it was so much different. And same with the Doom, which looked very much like the Wolfenstein, the graphics quality that Halo was.
And then a huge step up.
Huge step up. The other one that was I used to play was Duke Nukem 3. I don't know if you
Oh yeah,
remember that
I
one.
remember.
Um, yeah, and but then after that was like all the like Gears of War and a lot of the Xbox titles I played pretty much. And then the standard ones like the Battlefield and the Call of Duties, the different ones, Black Ops and all that. So yeah, just
Yeah, you
got into
definitely don't
that.
play games around your kids, do you?
No, no, not at all, not at all. No, this is before kids. This is yeah, and but even after kids, like no games I don't play around kids because um they are like my 6-year-old's into Minecraft, so he just wants to talk about Minecraft. All he wants to play is Minecraft, and he's building all sorts of things, and he's getting his own pets, and every day he has a new plan of what he's going to build in Minecraft. He tells me. So we still give him only like 1 hour a day or something, but then the whole day he's planning on what he's going to do in Minecraft and telling
That's
us.
so awesome.
Yeah, so it is still very, very creative because he has to build things and he has to learn and he has to manage his resources and all those sort of things, and get more resources to be able to even get for more resources. But yeah, it's teaching him planning and it's teaching him so many other skills, so that's why I don't mind Minecraft. That
All right.
yeah.
So what is it you play today? You and your friends, what do you play?
Since what 2013, 2014, I've been playing Destiny since beta and stuff. And then I played Destiny 1, and then I played Destiny 2. It's just partly because all the friends stuck around for so many. I mean, Destiny 1 we had a lot more fun than Destiny 2. But then in between, every now and then in between updates, we would play PUBG and a bit of Fortnite and a bit of Call of Duty, and anything new that comes, we'd give it a try, kind of a thing for a little while. Apex Legends, I also tried a bit. I want to have a look at Valorant. I haven't played it yet, but I've seeing a lot of hype around it. Have you played it,
I have
Valorant?
not played it, but they're dumping tons of money into advertising that game.
They are. Probably they've hired a lot of influencers as well, and which is what everyone does. They are dumping so much money, and because it's by the same guys as League of Legends. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So then, I mean, people have really high hopes because when it comes to esports, there is no title bigger than League of Legends. In my view, I could be wrong, but yeah. So yeah.
Absolutely spot on. All right. So Sam, that's so cool. Now, like you kind of already gave me your background, but what is it you're working on right now? It kind of sounds like the Rona kind of threw you out of whack here.
Yes, yes and no. The no thing is that I started because I used to go and speak at events here. So I used to go to universities and colleges and all that and speak with young people there, and just encourage them, motivate. That's kind of my way of giving back. And also go and speak with founders here, go to all sorts of tech conferences and stuff here in this part of the world. And also some overseas. But what has happened is that I'm no longer able to travel because of obvious reasons. So I thought, okay, why not just connect with people and do these sort of things. So I did some, even before podcasts, before I got started on this podcast in the last 2 months. Before that, I just got connected with people on LinkedIn, and I just recorded a video and I checked it on LinkedIn and stuff. But then I thought, oh, all these people are doing podcasts. Why don't I just connect with them, go on their podcast? Because, it doesn't matter. They could be remote and I can still do this. So I started doing that, and I'm really enjoying because I am a natural extrovert and I like meeting people and I like talking with people. So I'm not like a lot of gamers are introverts. I am, and that's why I like PvP or a multiplayer games more because of my extroverted
You get
nature
to
when I
trash
get
talk. That's what it's all about.
pretty much. so yeah, so I'm really enjoying this. I'm planning to start my own podcast where I want to interview founders and also investors. a lot of founders I have seen, they do get stuck when it comes to around raising money, and then over time they just run out of money and run out of steam, and then just um, stop building whatever they were building or going on that journey. So I want to start my podcast where I interview founders who want to raise money, and I interview investors who do provide funding, so that way hopefully I can match those two parties together, and and provide value to people who are listening. So yeah, so that's my plan. That's my next thing I want to do.
Beautiful. All right, now let's kind of go back. You mentioned that you had some marketing advice for people looking to promote. So where do we go from here? Like what advice? What's like the number one thing people need to know about marketing and promotion?
Okay, so I will start from the number one thing. Say you are a tech startup, because that's my area of specialty. You might be a SaaS product or a mobile app or an e-commerce or a esports startup. The number one thing is that, does your product solve the customer's problem? So if it's something to do with, say, esports, the problem is boredom and entertainment. And does it solve that problem? Does it deliver entertainment? Does it deliver high engagement? So the number one thing you need to look at is that, is your product or service solving the problem? That is the key thing you should focus on. It's called something like a product-led marketing or product-led growth. So the reason behind that is that, say, if you have a startup where it is making some sort of I don't know, like a dashboard and analytics and some sort of a software for esports platforms where they can see the engagement. But if people are signing up to this startup, but they are not using its product, then that means that it is not going to be a viable option, or the churn rate is too high. People are joining your esports platform but just leaving after 6 months. Then you are not going to be able to grow sustainably in the long run. So what happens is, often a lot of founders are so married to their idea and so fixated upon what they're building that they stop looking at what the clients are or customers are using and where they are getting value. What happens in those cases is they dump a lot of money on ads, influencers, YouTube ads, like Facebook ads, all those things, and SEO and content and all that. But then people come, sign up, and they maybe use that platform or that app once or twice, but then not stick around. So then that is something very dangerous, where you can end up wasting a lot of money, end up getting lots and lots of users, but then if they're not going to stick around, then, or there's going to be massive churn, then it's a problem.
What's the secret? Like you told me you turned a company from 80,000 monthly users to 300,000. So how do you do it?
Yeah. So first of all, you have to make sure that you provide engagement, that people will enjoy the product. It will solve a problem. And if it doesn't, then yeah, you have to work on the product before you go and start the marketing. So yeah, that's the key thing. So, look at your product, look at your service. If it's not solving a problem, if people are not talking about it, then you're going to face the uphill battle. In a ideal scenario, gamers talk. If you are on whether on Twitter or YouTube or anywhere, or Twitch or anywhere, gamers talk, and if they like something, they will build up the hype. If they hate, I'm talking more on the gaming sort of niche and esports niche. If they don't like something, they will grind you to the ground, kind of a thing. They will
there's plenty of haters in the gaming community.
yes exactly. The community well. So if they love your product, if they love your service, then you would not even have to do the marketing. In fact, they would become personal evangelists of that game or that product, and they will hype it to the to the pretty much to the top of the Mount Everest kind of a thing. They would wear your merchandise. They would make merchandise that doesn't even exist and promote it, kind of a thing. So yeah, that's all you need to worry about is building a good product, whether it is a esports software or a game, or as long as you do that, the first, like the major hurdle is done. And then look at the marketing side.
Okay, very
And
cool. Go ahead.
when you have a good product, when you have a good sort of a product market fit, then you look at the next thing you look at is, okay, where does my audience hang out? Because different audiences have different platforms, because games are global. Most games are global these days from day one, and we didn't know. We thought we'd get most of our users in US, but we didn't. Most of our users for came, like a third came from Latin America, a lot of them from Brazil, Argentina, Chile, all that, and then a third came from Europe, and we were really surprised. And then the remaining third were between US and Southeast Asia. So you don't know what channels are going to work. You don't know. So, you just have to monitor and find out, who is your real user, where do they hang out, because the channels and the platforms they might be using could be completely different. We could have been spending all the money on US based influencers when in fact all the users are in Latin America who only speak Spanish, Espanol, or or in Eastern Europe where they speak Russian predominantly. So yeah, so it's, once again, it's case by case basis, but yep.
Okay. So to what extent, like, when do you start doing this research to figure that part out? Because I've had other guests on, other, marketing directors of companies say you need to start marketing well before your product is finished. But
Absolutely.
what is that line? When do you start? As soon as I have the idea, or as soon as I get a funder?
We were very lucky that we had people, and part of our company was remote. So we had an employee in Latin America who spoke both Brazilian Portuguese and Spanish, and we had an employee in Poland who spoke Polish and Russian. And so we had like few employees around the world, because we did run remote even in 2018, 2017. So for the Esports Startup. So we were really lucky that they were start building the hype before even releasing a new feature, for example, or releasing a new version of the app. They could tease it out among their own friends, among so you have to start building a Discord group even before you launch a product. You have to start getting influencers and try in few different places to start talking about it even before launching, and get people to sign up to some sort of a landing page where they do get some early joining bonus of some sort, to go on that mailing list where you can keep updating them on the journey and keep building that hype. So and then from that you can start gauging that our art style or our what we are saying is getting a better response, because these days analytics is so good. You can see the location of most users and like generic location, that what country they are coming from, and then you can see that, okay, it is our game or our startup is resonating more with these users. And dig deeper, ask to catch up with some of them on Discord, and just have a voice chat and just say, like, on a group that, okay, what is it that you are looking for, does it need more of this or that, and all that. So yeah, you can, there is nothing stopping you. And whether it is a launching of an app or a book or a game, I think the marketing starts even before you launch it, as they say, which is 100% true. A lot of authors, they even build a whole mailing list before they even go to a publisher, before even months before, so that the day they launch it, they can send an email out to everyone that, hey, this is launched, now you can go and get it, and you get the early bird discount or whatever sort of
That's
a
right.
thing.
Okay, so I have a question, because to you and I, it makes so much sense to have that marketing plan in place. I mean, if you're going to go to a funder, they want to know how you're planning on promoting this. Why is there such a disconnect between the startup and their marketing plan, because it often seems like so many of the tech companies I come across, they're so focused on the tech part and not on the sales and marketing part. Like, I don't see how that can happen when they need the funder to sign off on the marketing plan.
So, so that you mean that there is a disconnect between the funder and the marketing?
Between how they're able to get their money and what they're actually end up doing on the marketing side.
That is quite a interesting question. I think you had to, like for us, we were lucky that, I'll just share our experience, that we were lucky that we had the money that we got from wasn't just like stupid money. It was smart money, as in they had their own connections and they had their own advice that came with it, because they had experience in building other startups in similar space. So that is another thing that you can look for if you are getting funding, is that, you know, what else do they bring apart from money? Do they bring their connections? Do they bring their experience? Because then they would be able to, you would be able to have a board meeting, say once a fortnight, once a month with your investors, and then they can provide feedback. And it is always good to have an external oversight sometimes, to, you know, because you don't realize you're going on the wrong path until you have gone quite further down. So yeah, I think that would be a good sort of a check to have some outside bouncing, like outside board who you can bounce ideas with.
Fantastic. Okay, so Sam, you are clearly well established in this game. You know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about. What makes you different? How are you unique from everybody else? Do you have any unique skills, or are you just one of those guys who's got it made?
For my personal self, or for a company, you mean?
For you personally.
Oh,
what makes
personally,
you different?
Yeah, okay. Personally, what is different is that I have failed a lot. That is what is different. So that just means that I have tried a lot and I've failed a lot at lots of different things. So the reason why I know about marketing is because I have tried so many different things that have not worked, that I can rule those things out. And it is a bit like, I'm sure you've heard of Gary Vee, you know. Mm-hmm. He talks about content, that the only way to learn about content marketing is by making the content. It's just like, you know, these days, for external sports, I play tennis. And the only way to get better at tennis is by playing it. It's, you know, if I watch Wimbledon or, you know, US Open, I'm not going to suddenly magically become better at playing tennis. I could watch it for the whole life and never, and then I go out on the field and I'm not good at it. Like, you know, I go on the tennis court and I'm not good at it. But so the only way to get better at anything is by doing it a lot, and having things that don't work. So at the time when things don't work, it is not a pleasurable experience, but over time you get used to it and you learn and you refine and you keep improving from there on. There was another example I was sharing, like there's an investor I follow, and he said that, you know, the only way to learn how to start a startup is by starting one or start and run a startup is just by doing it. It's like you can read all the case studies, but it's not the same. I have applied for hundreds and hundreds of jobs in my life, and when I didn't get any, I just, you know, start and build my own company. That's what you do.
Right there with you. I've done that a couple times.
Yes, exactly right. So, you know, you just had to do it. And a bit like Michael Jordan or Kobe, Kobe used to take 1,000 shots every morning, and he probably missed, you know, a few hundred of them, especially in his early years. And so he's missing 100 shots or 200 shots a day. And I take 0 shots and I miss 0 shots. So I could say that, you know, I miss less shots than Kobe. Kobe fails more than me, but I mean, or he failed more than me. But then I never learned either. He learned so much more. So the only way to learn is by failing and improving on it. So the more you try, the more you'll fail, but that's fine. That's all. And
I love it, but it's a beautiful, humble attitude to take. All right. Now, in case someone is hoping to follow in your footsteps, maybe they want to learn more about marketing, particularly tech companies or SaaS startups. What resources are out there in order to learn this material, other than your book, that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the last part of the 30-day startup, it's all about growing and acquiring users. But I mean, it's currently it's for free in US and on Kindle, so anyone can just read it. Over 10,000 people have read it and all that. So it seems to have, like, I get messages all the time on LinkedIn from people I don't know that they implemented something and they benefited from it. So which I'm really happy about. But there are so many resources out there. Of course, you can always go to YouTube. The problem with YouTube, I have found, is that sometimes the videos can be quite outdated, or they can be quite old, and people don't do them as a course. They don't follow through, and they don't do the whole series. So the other thing that does seem to work better is doing courses on things like Udacity, Udemy, Masterclass. There's so many. There's so many free ones out there as well. There's hundreds and hundreds of these sort of platforms, some free, some paid. So start with free ones and go on some paid ones and learn. I still learn on YouTube all the time. I love YouTube. There are lots of people like Seth Godin and Tim Ferriss, and so many I follow, Malcolm Gladwell, and but the one key book I would like to give a recommendation of a book, not mine, and that is read Robert Cialdini's work. He was the key sort of a person who talked about influence and persuasion. So I think just search for Robert Cialdini. I don't actually know exactly how to, but I can send you a link to his name. He did research for like 50 years on how to influence and persuade someone. And every marketer that you hear speaking on YouTube has probably been influenced from that and just rehashing it to the current climate. So that is the key thing, and it's only like 6 or 7 principles on how you can persuade and influence someone. So if someone reads that and implements that in whatever platform they are working on, they would do really, really well. That's the theoretical advice. The practical is just do it. The only way to learn is by doing it. It's like you can only you can only watch and read so much. The real experience and the real learning happens when you do it.
That's so true. And you really don't really understand business until someone has screwed you over a couple times.
Absolutely. It's like, you want to become a long distance marathon runner. Watching it on TV is not going to help you. Reading it in a book about running is not going to help you that much as just going out and doing it. That's what's going to build your stamina. That's what's going to, expand your lungs and make you go for the next 40 miles or 30 miles. So, yeah.
All right. Okay. So Sam, you mentioned earlier that you're ancient. I don't believe that's necessarily true. But if you could go back in time to when you were first starting your career, like way back then, and you could talk to little Sam and you go, hey, look, yes, Sam, this is what's going to happen over your entire career. But if there's only one thing I could tell you that you need to know, this is it. What is that thing?
That is to not be afraid, to have more courage. I feel like I haven't been going out at my full potential for most of my life. I've just tapped into my full potential in the last 2.5 years. That's what I feel like. At one stage, I was running quite a successful business. We had over 3 million in turnover a year, and we had insanely high profit margins in that. And however, I was just like, I wasn't letting my full personality shine in that. I was just keeping to myself. I was never going out and sharing. I never did anything online like this. I never made a video. I never did a podcast. I never went out to speak at an event. I never shared everything that I knew and everything that was working. Over that 8 years, there were so many small experiments I did in that e-commerce startup that helped me get success and traction. I could have been teaching all that to other people so that they could have been implementing it, and I could have had so much of a bigger impact on other people. And I feel like I should have been doing that for the last 15 years, and not just in the last 2.5 years. And I would have been at a different stage in my career and my own personal brand, and also the impact that I could have made on people. So that is the key thing I would say, that, just go out and just do it. And yeah, don't hold back.
For sure. Well, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is right now, right?
Exactly. You said it. So yeah.
Okay. Now, what advice would you have for somebody who's looking to get into the world of marketing? Maybe not necessarily with softwares, but just generally,
yes.
They want to. They think they're a talker. They think they're outgoing. They think they're an extrovert. Yes. And so someone said you should go into marketing. Where do they start?
Where you start, there are two places at this point. Of course, this will be different in 5 years time, because the internet keeps changing, the world keeps changing. But right now, there are two places they need to go. One is, if they want to go in a business to business marketing setting, then they need to go to LinkedIn. They need to master that platform. They need to post on it every day. LinkedIn is it's like super good value, because there's like 650 million people on it, and less than 10% of them posting on it. So when you write something on it, or when you post on it, you have a much higher share of voice on it. So you have a much higher chance of people looking at it and all that. So that is the platform to master and learn. So learn everything, watch YouTube videos, do some courses online on how to post effectively, how to make content effectively, establish yourself. And then the second thing is, go and connect with companies who want to leverage LinkedIn, but they don't know, because they are too old school, they're very corporate, they don't know how to use it. So connect with them. This is the non-gaming advice, by the way. I'm thinking of just general.
Oh, it applies to the gaming advice too. I started out on LinkedIn with the show, and that's where I got my beginning here.
Yeah. So yeah, it works. Of course, if it's gaming advice, then you need to find the relevant Discord groups and interact on Twitch as well. And maybe even start a just chatting type show on Twitch, where you talk with. Of course, if it's gaming related, you would get slightly better traction on Twitch, because the gamers are already there. And so with Discord, you could start a Discord group, or join a Discord group, ask them if they need any help with moderation. You can be there all the time, and you can help them, and just start participating there. So that is on the B2B front. On the B2C, if you want to go B2C and you need mainstream audience, then I would say go on TikTok. So TikTok is at the phase right now where YouTube was in 2005, 2006, where it was full of cat videos. And now, how many cat videos do you watch on YouTube every day? Not many. Most people don't go to YouTube to look at cat videos. That was 14 years ago. And so that is the stage TikTok is right now. I do think over time, the whole dancing thing and everything will slowly phase out, and I'm seeing more and more things to do with motivation, with business, with startups, with all sorts of things on TikTok. So it will mature. And I know people say, oh, it's only 1 minute. But then when Twitter started, it was only 140 characters, and people used to write big, long blogs, like a whole book type of blogs. And then people used to say, oh, but I cannot say anything. And all the newspapers used to make fun of it. Oh, what can you do in 140 characters? We have a whole site with so much content. But, you can do a lot. And tweeting has tweet storms. So people still can write more things. They just have nested sort of more tweets in that series. And same thing is happening now in TikTok. People have a whole tutorial on TikTok on something, say learning a Gaelic language, and then they have part 1, this thing happened, and follow me to get to part 2 and then part 3, and so you would have tutorials on it. It's just matter of time as the platform matures. Right now what is happening is that most people don't have the confidence to be in the front of the camera on TikTok and do that. Now I don't know what will happen in the next 5 years. Maybe LinkedIn and TikTok won't be there, maybe another platform will be. But if you have practiced putting content out on these platforms, then you would be ready for the next one that comes along, and of course there is going to be a next one. It's not when. It's not the question of if, it's just a question of when. So yeah, so that those are the key. That's the key advice for anyone young who's just trying to get into marketing.
That is so wonderful. Now I would say on TikTok, you want to make sure that your content is going to relate to the audience that you hope to have.
Absolutely.
I currently do dad jokes with my daughter on TikTok.
Oh, fantastic.
It seems like the only people who follow my content are like 12 and 13-year-old girls. So I'm like, not exactly my target audience.
No, that's what they say. The thing is that, right now, the market is for just funny skits. But then over time, it is going to mature. And we don't know. The thing is that it used to be Musical.ly, then it turned into TikTok. It might turn into something else. Who knows? But the thing is that if you are in the game, then you know what people respond to, what works, what doesn't work, how the algorithm works. You learn all those things. So, yeah.
Okay, Sam, I got one more question for you. You mentioned earlier that you failed a lot. Like the key to your success is a lot of failures, failure. But I genuinely believe that's a fantastic position to take, because you learn more from your failures than you ever will from your successes. With a failure,
Absolutely.
You got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, figure out what went wrong, and then fix it for the next time.
Exactly right.
I want to ask you, what is like the number one failure that you've had in your life, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, there's been so many that I have never ranked them. Number one failure. The thing is that failure is it is a how many kids do you have?
I have one.
You have one. Yes. Okay. Like what do you call? Failure is a bit like labor. When you are going through, it is the hardest thing, and this is the most painful one. But then after that, women forget, and everyone
immediately forget.
And then and then they have the second one. So we have got 2 kids. So it's like going through that once. So I thought, okay, they should never want this again, experience again. So but then they have second one, and that's why so many people have second, third, or fourth kid, and because it is forgotten. And over time the pain of that failure reduces, so then you don't remember. And also if you keep dwelling on that, then the pain remains. So it's like I tend to forget that. It's like every time I'm applying for a job and I don't even hear back, and then it is painful at that time, but then over time it's forgotten. And that's the kind of thing, like even if you're doing sales, a lot of clients are not going to be open to your product or service, and then over time you forget that you even met that person. and the same thing is like, you make content on LinkedIn. Not every piece of content does well. Some do well, some doesn't, but that's fine. Over time, because things have gotten so ephemeral with social media, that over time you just tend to forget about what has worked and what hasn't.
Okay, fantastic.
So yeah,
I love it, Sam. All right. This has been a wonderful interview. How do people find you? Where are you out on social media?
LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn would be the place to find me. And yeah, I've also got a sort of author thing on Amazon. So if they even look up my name, they would find my sort of author profile on Amazon. But yeah, those 2 would be the key places. They can find my company, which does software development, productdone.com. And yeah, I think those would be the key places.
Wonderful. All right. Do you have any last thoughts you want to share? Anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
No, I think that's about it. I just want to encourage, all the any young person listening, just go and do it. Don't hold back. Just don't worry about failure. If it happens, it happens. You learn from it. So take that attitude. So then you'll be fine. So yeah.
Wonderful. All right, Sam Kamani, thank you so much for coming on with us today. You shared some wonderful advice.
Thank you, Brad. It was great talking with you, and yeah, best of luck for all your sort of efforts and all your ventures.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, I'll definitely want to talk to you after this. But for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.